Alright, ladies and gents, I am back for my part 2 review of the ASV RT-135. In this video, I am not going to repeat the problems that I went over in video number 1. This is to point out some other problems, go over things in depth, and to go over warranty issues, dealer support, and I'd also like to mention I am not going to be making the modification video because the skid steer is actually for sale right now. We are moving on to a Cat 299, and I just wanted to hurry up and get this video done before this guy disappears. So let's get right into it. So we bought this we got it 2 years ago, ordered it 3 years ago. So let's talk about pricing. It is 2024. And the price on these peaked at about $160,000, and it has come down substantially. You can get one of these new right now for between $130,000 and $135,000. So they did find out they were asking too much. Hopefully my video is part of that helped out with that. I mentioned in the first video that I hope to God I never throw a track. And I mentioned I had problems with the track tensioner coming loose, and we actually ended up throwing both tracks because yes, they were very loose, and this turnbuckle rod was loosening up. So as it would loosen, the nut and the rod would loosen together. So this nut was tight up against this, but they would both spin together. ASV said do not put Loctite on the threads. I do not understand why you would not Loctite that. So we went twofold. We put an extra nut on, tightened it as tight as possible, and put a bunch of Loctite on there. I don't think the double nut was necessary, but after throwing the track on both sides, and it threw the track in a really bad area each time. It was really hard to get to. We wanted to make sure we went overkill instead of underkill, so we double nutted it, Loctited it. I think really just Loctite is all that it needed. But the fact ASV told the tech from the dealership, do not put Loctite on it, blows my mind, because that is what fixed it. It needed Loctite. Should be kind of common sense. I don't understand why they argued about that. Since then, put a couple hundred hours on it. It has not budged. Tension hasn't moved now. They're nice and tight. So yeah, it was a problem from the factory. We got it solved though. No thanks to ASV though. Again, I'm kind of skipping around trying to dodge the wind. Because like always, it's a windless day, and as soon as I walk out and turn the camera on, this huge breeze starts blowing. So this video is not really going to be in any particular order. Over here, you got the coolant reservoir. I really wish they would put the sight glass here, because instead you have to open this side door and look underneath to see the sight glass. Now at this point, the coolant hasn't budged, which is weird, because before the last time I took this to the dealer, this thing was burning coolant. It wasn't leaking, it was burning coolant. And I don't know why. I don't know what they did to stop it. This hinge for this door ended up breaking off, and ASV has addressed this by coming out with a new hinge bracket plate that eliminates the middle hinge. Wow. Remember what I said in part 1 is all 3 pins have to be perfectly aligned, so they just removed one. You definitely don't ever want to open the door and let it slam. I always gently open and close it. The alternator bearing had squeaked on this thing since it was new. It ended up getting a new alternator pulley bearing and a belt, and the squeak's gone. Keeping this thing clean and being able to clean it out both, it's a chore, because everything accumulates underneath the DPF and underneath the DEF tank. And this I mentioned this in video 1. This has become an even bigger problem with just the amount of accumulation of dust and debris. I don't know why there's not a sealed door over this area. And then to compound the problem, water can come through this screen, fall down in here, and it turns all that dust into mud. So then it's even harder to get out. So you definitely don't ever want to expose this machine to water. If it's gonna rain, it's best to get this thing under cover. You want to blow it out at the end of every shift to the point it's clean, and you don't ever want to wash it before blowing it out. You always want to blow it out and then wash it. Now the belly pans are not too bad to use. You take like a 9/16 wrench and go under there with your impact and zip them out. What the problem is, they have several doors, and the front one opens towards the front, where all the rest open towards the back. So I can crawl under the back and get to all of them except for the front. The front, I have to basically have 2 people, because I have to have the loader raised, or the bucket raised, so I can crawl under there. So I don't understand why they hinged it the opposite direction, making the front belly pan a complete chore to clean out. One other quick thing, I wish there was a pin on the inside to lock the arms up, because your only option is to have someone else install this over the cylinder rod to lock it up. So it's a 2-person job to lock the arms up, which really sucks if you need to lock your arms up and you're by yourself. As far as fuel efficiency goes, we're right at 500 hours now, and it hasn't changed. I thought maybe we would see a difference after the break-in period, but it has stayed consistent, about 4 to 6 hours per gallon for the mulching, about 2 to 3 gallons per hour for moving dirt or running the grapple piling up trees. As far as noise level goes, this sucker is freaking loud. You cannot have a phone call inside the cab with the machine running at all. You have to shut the machine off. That's how loud it is. It's actually quieter with the machine running outside than it is inside. Like I could stand right here with the machine running and have a phone call, but I can't do that inside the cab. This is no longer the biggest machine. In fact, I may have misspoken when I said it was during my first video. The Case Minotaur is the largest skid steer that I am aware of, but I do believe this still has either the highest lifting capacity or the second highest lifting capacity. The thing I want to give this machine extreme praise for is moving snow. We had a blizzard this past winter, pretty much the biggest blizzard we've had in over 10 years, actually 15 years almost, and I could not get it stuck. It was really incredible in the snow. As far as horsepower and flow goes, this is still definitely the highest rated horsepower machine at 132 horsepower, 50 gallons a minute. I will tell you, at $200 for a 5-gallon bucket or $40 per gallon for hydraulic fluid, it really sucks when you blow a hose on the high flow and you're losing 50 gallons a minute. It is probably a little bit overpowered, honestly. It is hard on attachments. It's thought that maybe the flow and horsepower is the reason why the Lofness disc mulcher motor exploded like a hand grenade on Halloween of 2023. But the motor on the mulcher exploded, and it has been pretty much all downhill. Downhill or uphill? Downhill, I don't know. Things have gone to hell since then, I'll just put it that way. I do want to mention, while we're in here, how difficult and ridiculous it is to try and see the hydraulic oil fluid level. They put a light switch on here. Wouldn't be bad with this useless tank on here in the way, but it's just like, man, why can't they come up with a little easier system to check your fluids? Not only this, but the coolant level. Quick attach pins, probably one of the biggest complaints about these machines, other than the non-working air conditioning. I fixed that. So the fix is they are too long. I had to cut a 1/4 inch off the pins, and essentially haven't had problems since then. What was happening is the pins are too long, so unless you were perfectly aligned when trying to back out of an attachment, the pins would hang up and you would try to pull out and tilt your bucket and it would bend the pins. So I straightened the pins out, cut a 1/4 inch off. You got to make sure you keep the spring assembly greased. Since I mentioned earlier, it's not hydraulically driven, it's a cylinder that pushes on a bar, and the bar has a spring that pushes on the pin. So it does have to be greased and freely moving, but I haven't had problems with attachments not coming off anymore. I've had problems with the pin sticking because I had to power wash it and re-grease it, but at least it's a simple fix. Take your cutoff wheel, cut a 1/4 inch off the pins, Bob's your uncle. Lights on the machine, I said I was going to add the lights. I bought all the stuff to do it, but then never did it because this has been in the shop so much. Those should be standard. Visibility sucks at night with this thing. You can't see to the side at all. And then they need to have 2 rows of lights on the top because you need basically low and high beams so that you can see past your attachment depending on which attachment you're running and where that attachment is positioned. The wiper fluid reservoir continued to be a problem after video number 1. So there's an O-ring seal. This is a really complex, complicated deal, but this bolt goes through the door. There's actually an O-ring sealing between sealing the tank to the door on each side, basically. And this came loose, so it was leaking out of here. And then again, the cap leaks inside the cab all over your feet. I just really hate that whole reservoir system. The fuel filler neck issue has been resolved, I am happy to say. They swapped out the vent tube for a larger diameter, and now I can fill with my 25 gallon a minute 12 volt pump on all 3 full clicks. I've never tripped it, so that was huge. I had the question of if the top emergency escape hatch was reusable or if there's like a one-time use seal. The answer is it's reusable. It's very simple to use. I had to use it for the first time when the machine gelled up during the blizzard, and it's a piece of cake. Pop the little latch on the inside, move the cover over, and crawl out the top. Only bad part's you get your seat a little dirty. I do want to say that the push bars, whatever you want to call these, they are awesome. I don't see these on any other machine, and I accidentally use them all the time. I love them. It's a really good feature. I do wish still that it had the extra door on the back, but I wish other machines had these exo cages on them. Air filters have been a massive problem on this machine. So it's a 2-stage filter. You have basically your primary filter, and then you have what they call like a safety filter. So the safety filter is just there to not let any giant chunks of dirt get through when you're servicing the primary. So you take the primary out, then you're actually supposed to vacuum this whole thing out, then take a wet cloth and wipe the whole thing out and let it dry before touching the secondary. So the secondaries, I can get those all day long. The primary, however, it's been on national back order the majority of the time that we've actually owned this machine. ASV charges $200 for the filter. You can plug one of these filters up in a day if you're not careful and you're not working with the wind direction. The filters are only $50. Same part number, same brand, same people supplying it. It's $50 if you buy it online from pretty much anybody. The problem is they're always on back order. They're always on national back order. The only reason ASV has these in stock is because they're quadrupling the price. So of course nobody's going to be buying them from them unless it's a dire emergency and that's your only choice and you have to have it. The price gouging needs to end. It's ridiculous. And I don't understand why this filter is on national back order for 2.5 years. I'm lucky to get them to ship within a 6-month period, and I usually buy 4 to 6 filters at a time just so I'm stocked up. The door is awesome. I love the door. I've actually tried pushing a large tree branch. I'll give you an example. We have some crooked trees out here. So some trees have these large branches that grow out sideways, okay? There's one right there. I tried pushing one off the tree just to break it off with a grapple, and instead of breaking off, I kind of pushed past it, and that branch came back and smacked into this. It hit so hard I thought my eardrums were gonna pop. Didn't even hardly scratch the door. I don't remember at this point which scratch it was, but I think it was that little one right there. I mean, it didn't just shatter or nothing. Another big thing of praise on this machine is the ability to just open the door, reach in, turn the key, and start it. You don't have to be seated or have any safety belt things on or down or anything like that. You can just reach in, start it, let it warm up or let it cool off. The biggest cheap mod that made a world's difference is putting this trash bag. I actually had to feed it up in here, and the inside of the trash bag's black, and that blocks the sunlight from coming in, and it has been so tremendously awesome with just keeping the cab cooler. Anyway, as far as gauge cluster goes, they've pretty much refused to implement any of my ideas. I've been in contact with one of the lead engineers at ASV, and I'm getting nowhere. So they have changed, they've recalibrated this bar a little bit. They still won't display the numbers down here, don't have your inclinometer displayed. There's still no way to view that. They seem to have changed the threshold for what's called quote-unquote overheated or starting to overheat, but there's been no data about it, because I can tell I can go longer now before it gets into the official overheating stage. So there's a couple points I want to make on that, and one is the dealer never explains what these changes are that they're making or the updates that they're installing. So we take it in for, a warranty fix, and it comes back and stuff's different, and there's nothing being said to us or explained to us that, hey, we changed this is going to be different. So it took me a while to figure out that the gauge was reading differently and that it wasn't overheating as often or as soon. The other part of it is there's like a 2-stage overheating system. So when it starts to get warm, instead of just shutting off your high flow, it stays on, but it derates the flow. When it derates it, the disc mulcher quits spinning as quickly, and if that mulcher is not spinning at full speed, it doesn't have enough momentum and inertia to suck branches or trees in and mulch them and spit them out. It'll suck them in, it'll lose momentum, and the tree will get lodged in the mulcher. So it'd be better to let the machine continue running at full speed until the full overheat temperature, and then just shut the high flow off completely until you cool back down below whatever temperature. But they sit there and they'll derate it, and then if you do manage to get it hot enough to hit full overheat temperature, then it will shut the high flow off and you'll see the lights go out, and then that's really the only way you know that you're at the full overheat temperature, because I had to shut off the warnings at certain times, which takes me to my next point, the reverse camera. Your reverse camera is displayed on here, and if you have a warning light come on, it takes the whole screen to display this little bit of text saying hydraulic oil temperature hot, you know. They either need to have two screens, one dedicated for the reverse camera, or they need to do picture-in-picture and have the warning pop up, because when I'm reversing through a really sketchy area and then all of a sudden I lose my reverse camera for a stupid warning light, that is very dangerous for the operator and the machine. As far as other changes I requested to be made that haven't been made, so you have these buttons and none of them have functions. I think it should be easy enough to program them. So I requested, instead of having to reach up and hit this button, let's say I'm driving and I need to hurry up and back up because a tree's about to fall on me. But I have the mulcher basically respooling, so it's taking all my power, all my hydraulic power is going through the high flow to spool the mulcher up. So I have limited drive power to drive the tracks. Instead of having to take my hand off, cancel the high flow, and get my hand back down here, I asked him, why can't I just use one of these little momentary switches to kill the high flow? I'm totally okay if they don't let you activate it from down there and you still have to hold this in for 3 seconds to turn it on. But I should be able to have a quick kill, like an emergency kill button, to shut it off from down here, so I can hurry up and kill it and move my mulcher to whatever position and still have my other hand able to back up and get out of harm's way as fast as possible. They wouldn't make that change though, or they wouldn't let me program a button for like an emergency kill switch for the high flow. There's two more things I want to mention in the cab. 3 things. Okay, this bolt, so for this pivot for the lap bar, and I'll show you how loose it is. I've already had to replace, or I should say reinstall this bolt twice. Because it just keeps loosening up. They have a whole big complicated roller bearing system. You can actually see they're like thrust washers. You have to disassemble all this crap to get in there to get to this bolt. So one day I was mulching trees and this just fell off, and you know, it's got to be down for the parking brake to come off. If it's up, the parking brake automatically comes on. So I'm driving down a hill pretty fast, and this thing I hit a bump and this falls off, and I come to a screeching halt, and that really hurt. When you go from full speed to, you know, stopped instantly, it hurts. So they need to fix that. Another thing about parts being changed and nothing's communicated to us or explained, the air conditioner got their new fix. It wasn't really explained what they did, but I can hear noises back here. There's some kind of actuator that's moving something around now when you turn the machine on for the first time for the day and you turn the AC on. You can hear all these weird noises. So, I mean, they've added something that didn't used to be there, like a new type of part, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a blend door or what that is. The other big thing, and YouTube has censored this video. I don't know why. Right now, it's September, I have over 120,000 views on my part 1 video review of the ASV, and then I recommend my safety harness installation video at the end, and I only have 100 views. 100. YouTube and Facebook both censor and do not show my advertisements for this video. It's been the biggest upgrade. Like the trash bag was pretty big, but putting this in was huge. Should be an option from ASV, but the way I did it, probably not real technically right. I use factory bolts for the rear harness. I had to get a, I don't know what you call this, but it holds the shoulder straps in position so they don't slide and fall over the top of the seat. And then I'm using the factory seat belt mounting bolts for the lap belt part. And then I just put these cheap cushions on there to save your shoulders. And now my head doesn't hit the ceiling or the windshield anymore. I don't really have the complaints about the lap belt because I'm not lunging forward and hitting that when I stop abruptly or I'm going downhill abruptly. Huge upgrade. And a lot of guys say they don't wear seat belts, but those guys aren't running disc mulchers or traveling in the terrain that I'm traveling in. Because no, I'm not wearing it when I'm running a dirt bucket, but when I'm out there in those hills, abso-freaking-lutely, I am putting that safety harness on. So now I want to get into warranty issues, warranty fixes, updates, and then lastly we'll get into dealer support. So as you can see, continuing to have issues with this hydraulic hose guard, but I don't know what the answer is. You don't want to have no guard. I think there's always going to be an opportunity for debris to get into a place you don't want it and do damage. I don't know what the answer is, so I'm not really going to sit here and dog on that thing anymore. It's just, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if there is an answer. I do know the answer for why the coupler was failing though, and that's part on Lofness and part on our dealer. So Lofness didn't try their disc mulcher out on this particular 135. They tried it on a 120. Something must have changed on the 135 in terms of the position of the couplers, because that hose, the high flow hose in the middle, was too short for this 135. So when you dump the bucket all the way down, it would actually try yanking the coupler off. Now it says right in the owner's manual that the dealer for Lofness, the dealer that sells you the attachment, is responsible for making sure your machine is set up correctly and the attachment set up correctly to run with one another. Lofness refused to replace the hose, and our dealer H2 Equipment in Columbus, Nebraska failed to recognize that the hose was too short when they sold it to us, and also failed to replace the hose, which is a big reason why this thing is getting sold. Because if you don't have dealer support, then you can't run one of these machines. Another change that was made, again, no explanation given to us. We weren't even made aware that it was a change. It's the fuel level sensor or calibration and the gauge cluster. I told you that it used to sit there and beep at you for half a day saying it was at, you know, whatever, 1 or 2 bars, and you'd still have 10 gallons left. Well, guess what? They changed that. They recalibrated that and updated our machine and didn't say a freaking word about it. So I'm out there and I'm mulching and I hear it beep. Well, guess what? I was empty. I barely made it back to the truck. This machine had less than 1 gallon left in it, and all it did was beep that first time. So it's fixed, thank God. But why the hell would you not tell people about that kind of update? Because I about paid the ultimate price for it, which is running the machine out of fuel, which if you don't know anything about diesels, the diesel fuel is your lubricant for your fuel injection pump. So once you run it out, you basically just ran. The injection pump is kind of like a miniature engine or a miniature motor, and you basically just ran it without oil. So it does a lot of damage to run a diesel out of fuel. As far as the AC system goes, you have to pull this bottom cover off to get to the condenser and the wiring, and they have a super cheap connector in there. Like, they have weather pack connectors all over this machine, and then you get to the condenser and it's like the 2-cent male-female spade terminal setup that you get at AutoZone. So that just loses connection. It doesn't come unplugged, it just loses connection. And despite the fact they revised the AC system, they left that connection up there, so that will still lose connectivity, and you got to stop and take that whole tray off to fix that. Let me back up here for a second, literally and figuratively. The biggest problem on this machine was the air conditioner not working from the time it was we picked it up, brand new. The best way I can explain what it's like to run a disc mulcher with high flow is it's like having a heater on all the time. So imagine it's 100 degrees outside, you're in your pickup and you turn the heater on. It's going to get hot. So that's what it's like year round. So people say, well, do you really have to have air conditioning, or are you just being a wuss? No, because even on a 50-degree day, when you have a heater on full blast, you're still going to get hot and you're going to want to turn it down or cool off. So essentially you got to have the air conditioning to neutralize the heater, and this thing has had nothing but air conditioner problems. So when the mulcher blew up on Halloween, we took this in to get the AC fixed because it was broken also. Again, I think total it's broken 8 times in the 500 hours. It's at like 490 hours. And they said actually ASV is coming out with a retrofit fix. They're going to basically replace the majority of the AC system. Should be a lot better, but it's not going to be available for another 45 days. So by the time they had the parts in hand ready to put on, we got hit with a huge blizzard, and by the time the blizzard was melted and gone, I think it was April when I finally got to take this in. So I didn't get to cut trees from Halloween till basically May. It works now. It will freeze you out. I've run it up to on a 95-degree day. That's not with heat index, that's ambient temp, 95 degrees, running the disc mulcher. Ran it for 8 hours, did not get hot. I did not get hot, the machine got hot. The AC did not quit working. It was so cold, I was actually switching the fan back and forth from 1 to 2. Normally, all the times before this, you would never turn that fan off full blast. You'd have it on 3 all day long, every day. So thank you, ASV, for fixing it. Took you way too long. Should have not been a problem when you released this machine that you were charging $50,000 more for than just a couple months prior for the same machine. As far as overheating goes, this machine will stay cool for about 1 day. You kind of got to learn all the ins and outs of cleaning it, but I ended up buying a Milwaukee cordless leaf blower to blow it out basically at the middle of the day and then the end of the day, and that's not strong enough to clean it completely out. The next step is this whole panel back here. You take 2 bolts out and this whole thing kind of pivots out of the way. Then you take compressed air and you blow the cooling stack out with compressed air, and that'll get you by for so long. And then when that quits working, then you got to get the water out and you actually have to wash it out. And at that point, once you've washed it, it's like almost pretty much brand new at that point. And then you start the whole process over again. So I'll leaf blow it till that doesn't work, then I'll compressed air it. And if you run this thing after you wash it, so it's like as clean as it was when it was brand new. Yeah, this thing will run 95 degrees, high flow disc mulcher, no problems. But it's just like anything, you got to keep your heat exchangers clean for them to be able to exchange heat. Alright, so let's get into kind of the warranty stuff. They fixed the AC, they put out a new kit for it. They argued with us and told us not to use Loctite on the tracks, so if we would have listened to them there, they would still be coming loose. And they don't have any warranty fix for the quick coupler pins, which all they have to do is make shorter ones and send them out to the dealers to have them install, and that would be fixed. They don't want to do that. They did quietly fix the fuel filler neck venting issues and the hinge for the back doors. I think that's about it. Now let's talk about dealer support. H2 Equipment, Columbus, Nebraska. It's been a nightmare to deal with. First off, we ordered the machine 2021. They promised delivery of the machine. They said, you know, it's the brand new 135 model. We're just excited about it as you, if not more excited. We'd love to deliver it and get the opportunity to run it, because we've never even gotten to run one yet, and then we can show you how to use it. Well, the day before we were supposed to get it delivered, we're asking them, you know, the details, setting things up, and the sales guy says, oh, we don't deliver stuff. Some kind of BS about insurance. They just kept making excuses and refused to deliver it. That was part of the sale. That was part of the handshake agreement. If we buy this, it comes with delivery, because time, fuel, it's about $150 to go to town to the dealer and bring this back, or take it there if you're thinking about taking it there for a warranty repair. $150 for that trip there and back. That's the time and the fuel to drive there, load, unload it, strap it down, and all that. So yeah, that's a big deal. Nobody's gonna tell you $150 isn't worth blinking at. The amount of time this spends at the shop to get fixed, it's never a quick fix. It's there for weeks or months at a time. It's even when I told them, hey, I need you to have this AC problem fixed in less than 24 hours, they said, we'll have it fixed in less than 24 hours. I said, okay, I'm bringing it there tonight. After 5 o'clock. It'll be there for you tomorrow morning. I take it there on Wednesday night, and Thursday at the end of the day, I called and I said, is this ready to pick up yet? And he says, oh, we didn't even know you dropped it off. We just saw it about 30 minutes ago. We didn't see it. I parked it in front of their freaking shop door, and they're saying that they didn't see it and didn't know it was there. And so it didn't even get fixed. They worked on it Friday, and then guess what? They came up with some excuse. They couldn't get it fixed Friday either. Couldn't pick it up to the following Monday. So I was supposed to be able to get back up and operational on Thursday afternoon, and I was not able to get going till the following Monday afternoon. Prime example of how it's impossible to make money when your equipment's broken and your dealer lacks the brain power or the follow-through to actually get a repair done in the time that they say they're going to get it done for you. Because honestly, I would have kept it and sweated my brains out and finished the project that I was mulching, because then that following week we got into rain, so then I had more downtime. And you're always playing the weather when you're disc mulching. It's too dusty, it's too dry, then you're plugging up filters and you're spending more money on filters than you're making. It's too wet, it's too slippery, or it's raining, you can't run. So downtime is huge with a machine like this. Charges. Every single time we take this thing to H2 to get fixed, they invoice us. Even though they're warranty repairs, they argue that ASV won't warranty it, and then they just pull stuff out of their butts to try to charge us for. And it's things that they should be asking ASV, or, you know, demanding ASV pays for. Honestly, I don't think they even ask ASV if they'll warranty some of these things. They probably just want to charge us and kind of double play it, get the warranty and charge the customer. Every time I take this in, I give them a list. You know, I'll give them a paper list with stuff written out on it and explain everything to them, and I'll get it back, and half the stuff on that list isn't fixed. Examples: the alternator bearing has squealed since we bought it new, and it wasn't until April that it got fixed, and then they charge us for it. it was broken since new. He said it was a wear item and like neglect or whatever. No, it squealed since new, and I have documentation of all the lifts that I've gave them when I take it in. It's been on there, and they just never addressed it until we said we're not picking this up until this squeal goes away, because it was so loud at that point you had to have earplugs in to turn the machine on. Other things, like he said there was a technical service bulletin for the lap bar, and then when I dropped it off and I said, are you going to do the lap bar TSB? He said no, that's just that'd be out of your wallet, and I'm not adding anything new. I'm just putting the same old parts back in it. The air conditioner was loosening connections, and then the lines going to the compressor apparently were cracking. Anyway, I asked if they would come here and recharge this thing so I could finish out the job that I was working on at the time. They refused to ever come service you in the field. So when we got to the tracks coming loose, the owner of H2 said he wanted to come out, mark the tracks and measure and see what this distance was, so he could see if they ever come loose again, is it loosening up on its own. And at that point I said, hey, great, since you're coming out here, can you bring your manifold gauge set so we can measure the refrigerant and the AC and see if it leaked out again, or if it's that stupid switch, because I really don't feel like pulling this whole cover off. I was fighting weather at that point. I had very limited days before winter hit. He said, no, I'm not bringing that. If you want me to bring that, I'll set up a service call for tomorrow, and you can pay the $125 service fee or whatever it is. The quick connections at that point, all we had to do was plug onto the quick connector. It's like right here. This is all part of the new kit. Used to have a quick connector right here. Plug that on, it would have told us, did we leak it out, or was it an electrical problem? He was already coming out anyway, for his own desire to measure the tracks. Refused to do it. Horrible customer service. Horrible customer service. Horrible dealer support. I got two more things I want to tell you about this machine, and then we will wrap it up. So, anytime I've ever asked about anything, if I want to buy cutter teeth, what are people running? If I'm looking at other machines, what's people's opinion about this or that? This dealership like stalks me on Facebook, and they throw themselves at me. Oh, we sell this. Oh, you want this machine? You should come here and buy this. We'll sell you one. Quit stalking me on Facebook and put the effort you put into stalking people on Facebook into giving good customer service and dealer support and fixing your crappy machines that are always breaking down. It's probably why it takes a month to get stuff back, because you're too busy screwing around on Facebook instead of out in the shop fixing stuff like you should be. And just to kind of go off on a little tangent, but another thing about this dealer, trying to sell this dump truck. It had a little leak. It has a double action cylinder on it, which is kind of stupid for a dump truck because the bed comes down with gravity. You don't need to power that cylinder to make the bed go down. But it had a weeping seal between the shaft and the head, which means that's on the retract side. So it's only leaking when the machine's coming down the bed. The bed's going to come down with gravity, so you're never really going to see pressure on that side of the cylinder unless you let the bed all the way down, then you sit there and you hold on the lever. So it was a little weeping seal. The machine worked fine with the leak. It's just, I want to sell a machine without leaks, you know? I want to sell stuff that's in good shape. So I'd take it to them. They promise a 1-day turnaround on cylinder reseals. Well, this machine was also there, and it's, I don't know, I think it's like a 20 to 30 minute drive to get there. I don't really want to waste a trip in. It's like I'll wait till the whatever is broken at the time on the, I think it was a skid steer. Let's wait for that to get done. I'll pick them both up at the same time. So 3 weeks later, I'm there, And actually, while I was at the shop, I got a phone call from the cylinder department saying, hey, when you get a chance, you need to come in and talk about your cylinder. I'm like, I'm here. I'm getting the skid steer right now. And I go over there, and there's my cylinder laid out on the table, cut into pieces with an angle grinder. I said, you know, I started cussing immediately. What the F? You know, that was an irreplaceable cylinder. They don't make it anymore. He said, oh yeah, we know. We're going to have to custom rebuild everything for the cylinder because it is junk. I said, it's not junk. It worked fine. It just needed a head seal, maybe a shaft. How's the shaft? Oh, the shaft's destroyed. Well, why did you take it apart if the shaft's destroyed? Just tell me the shaft has a nick in it. It's all said and done. It's just going to have a little leak there. No, they decided they couldn't get the cylinder apart, so they took an angle grinder and cut the head off, or the external collar for the head. They cut that off. And then when I refused to pay them because I thought they should be buying me a new cylinder at that point, they charged me for their labor to destroy my cylinder. They should have been paying me. I didn't want to cause, you know, bad blood or anything, and I didn't pay the bill. I had a credit on my account for some warranty parts. Kind of long story, but I had a credit on my account. So they just emptied my account and took all my credit off to pay themselves. So that is my horror story with H2 Equipment, Columbus, Nebraska, and ASV in Loftus. So we'll be going to a CAT 299 with NMC CAT, and I've been praying that I can just run the machine through the rest of the project without all these horrible failures and breakdowns. Let's hope I can do it. Would I buy an ASV at this point again? I don't hate the machine. Now that the AC's fixed and the fuel filling thing's fixed and I got the quick coupler fixed, it's a hell of a machine. But without dealer support, you can't own a machine that you need to have warranty service for. So until ASV gets better dealers out there, no. I would not buy an ASV. Would I recommend you look at one? You know what? If your ASV dealer support is good in your area and you have a good relationship and you can actually trust the people, I would say you might think about going for it. Alright guys, thanks for watching this long-winded review, part 2 of the series, and I don't think you'll be seeing this skid steer in another one of my future videos. Catch you later.